So, welcome to a new video on a pragmatic DevOps, and today we are going to talk about Docker for beginners. So it would be just an introduction, very simple, but it's good to have bases covered, right? So without further ado, as usual, let's jump into the nitty-gritty details and let's discuss first or define what is Docker just in general. And pretty much what you can see on the slide, Docker is an open platform that enables you to run your applications and on top of that to build your applications and just pack everything into a small, lightweight, portable containers and made everyone's life much happier. Well, of course, granted that you do understand what Docker is and how it works, at least to a certain extent. And if you don't, then probably it would just make a little bit harder instead of easier. But that's why we are here and what we are discussing. So, in general, Docker it sounds really similar to virtual machines, right? And there is a big difference. So if you remember initially, the traditional approach is that you build your application and then you pack it into something like MSI or just an exe file for Windows and send it to the client, and then they will run it. But it often leads to some sort of an issue. Namely, it could be the dependency conflicts, and if your application is running fine on one machine, it doesn't really mean that it will be executed in the same way on another machine, because all of the dependencies can be in a mess, and you won't have everything available as it is on your machine as you planned for. Then came virtual machines, and they solved this issue to a certain extent. So they allowed to run multiple OS environment and just basically uh, dedicate one operation system or one environment to a single application to run potentially, but they are very heavy, and just because they include the full OS, it will be much slower to start a new virtual machine and to maintain them, and the resource cost to run those multiple applications, it is not inconsistent. Uh, so then Docker came into play, and it pretty much tried to solve all of those issues, and it allows a fast startup, better resource utilizations, and the containers themselves and images are relatively tiny, which is good. So those are pretty much the reasons to run the Docker, and it is efficient, it is fast, and the images and containers that you run, they share the OS kernel from your host machine, and yeah, it is a reason why they are fast and portable. Uh, Now a quick word in terms of how it works, and you can read this slide, but basically the Docker consists of four main packs or four main options, the four main components, yes. It is a Docker itself, which runs a container, and it consists actually of the Docker daemon and the Docker client. Uh, then you have images, and those are basically like a, as I put it on this slide, they're like a blueprints for creating containers. Then finally we have a container, which is the actual application or the actual image that is running and executing your code, whatever it is. And on top of that, there are different repositories that are available. The biggest one probably is a Docker Hub. It is an open one, so you can push those images as you want. But it is possible to run private repositories as well, to just have your very own images saved somewhere in a private way. Let me quickly have a pause over here and just show that we have some documentation from docker.com, and I will link this in the video description, and you can read it a little bit more about for yourself. But this is an interesting bit that I wanted to mention, that we have a Docker architecture where you have clients. So all of the commands that you run, like docker run, docker build, and so on, then those commands are redirected to the Docker daemon, and the daemon actually has a list of images available, and it can run those images as containers. And those images can be pulled either from local, so you can just have those images locally available and nowhere else, or you can pull them from the registry, for example, from the Docker Hub. The way the Docker is distributed, the most often one is listed. Where is it? I saw it somewhere here. Sorry. Yeah, this section. So the Docker desktop. That's how you usually install everything, and pretty much you have where is it? This little icon, so that Docker desktop running, and in my case I have it like this. So I had some containers leftovers that are stopped at the moment. I have a list of images with, as you can see, just different Jerry or test or pizza, my favorite one that I can run, or I can put new ones and so on. But let me quickly go back to the slides. Oh, actually, no. Let's be a little bit more uh, random. And what I wanted to show is to how to actually use it, and just have a little bit of a demo. So in order to do that, let's run a very simple Node application. So here you can see in code, and let me probably try to zoom in a little bit more. Where is it? And like that. So it is a little bit more readable. And basically that application is very simple Node application. So we run the server, the Express, we expose it as port 3000, and for each of the calls, or rather for the homepage, we just respond with a hello Docker. And on top of that, we just output something to the console just to say that it is actually running. Then the important bit how to use the Docker is that you need to have a Dockerfile. And this is a special type of file which is called just Dockerfile without extension or anything else. And in this file you have a list of commands that you can run, and that it will control how you will build the image from whatever you want, or from this using this Dockerfile. So in this regard, in this sense, in this example, I'm starting with Node version 22, and then inside of this image, I'm saying that I'm going to use /app as my working directory. Then I copy the package JSON and package log files into this one. Inside of this image, I'm running the npm install, so all of the dependencies are installed, and the dependency is just Express and nothing more. And the final one is that I'm running Node and passing in the argument that is app.js, so to serve the applications that I just showed you from the container. And finally, that port 3000 should be exposed. You will be able to find how to structure the Docker file and all of the nitty-gritty details what you can do inside of the Docker file in the Docker documentation, the official one, and I'm not going to touch it right now. It's a little bit too much, and just wanted to have a quick demo what it is actually doing. Then after this, we can run a couple of commands from my terminal. So the first one just to check that we have Docker installed, but you saw it in a Docker desktop running over here. After that, we can build the application or build the Docker image using the Docker build command. And over here, I'm just saying that I want to tag it as my Node app. The image will have this tag. And I'm using dot, so it will find the Docker file in a current working directory, which is Docker intra for me. After I run it, it will try to pull the updated version of the base image, so the Node 22, and execute all of those commands. After that, it's ready and I have an image available. I can go to the Docker desktop and just look for my Node app as this, and when it was created, what is the size of it, and what is the tag. Or alternatively, I can also run something like Docker PS, and it will give me the list of images that I have locally. Well, I need to provide a little bit more context for this, but that's how you would use it. Uh, and the final one that I wanted to show, let me clear the screen again, so this thing doesn't really annoy anyone. And then we can run the Docker run, which will be here. So here I'm exposing port 3000 as port 3000 from my local machine, and I'm using this my Node app as image that I want to run. When I run it, it will output something into the console. So that is the result of this console log output. And we would be able to see that we have a new container. The container will have a random name assigned because I haven't said how to call it or what to do with the container. And inside of this one, you could see the logs of this container running. And the best thing, we could just go to localhost 3000 because the port is exposed and see the hello Docker message over here. So this site, let's call it a website, is actually hosted on my local machine, but it is running through Docker, which is what I wanted to show. Alright, with that, let's jump back to the presentation. We discussed this one, and yeah, it is possible to run the Hello World application as well. It's just a testing application that is provided by Docker itself, and those are the commands that we have just to play around. But first thing that you would need to do is to install the Docker desktop, obviously. Yeah, that was my slide for the quick demo that I gave. So I hope you enjoyed it. And because of that, please like, subscribe, leave some comments if that was helpful. And yeah, let's continue with our journey to learn the DevOps in a pragmatic way. See you soon.